Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG Build Guide Edition. Today I'm ready to drop on you my new and refreshed, once again, Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian. I have remade this again for Diablo 4, and I can say I'm going on record this build can beat Abattoir of Zir at tier 10. It is an absolute monster. As always, I will cover every single facet of the build. Everything is timestamped in the description below if you need to bounce around. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. All right, starting off with some gameplay. Right now we are in a Nightmare Dungeon, tier 100. Not using any uber uniques, nothing cheating. We should just absolutely demolish this. You will see multiple hits when Overpower hits for over 100 million. So far, the highest I've ever seen is 500 million. That's when everything lines up perfectly. Every 300 fury you spend, you will trigger an Overpower. And every time you swap weapons 8 times, you will trigger an Overpower. And you will see these huge AoE hits. Like, does very, very well. If you are looking for an Abattoir of Zir build, I'm telling you, this is it. We will just continue through this. Yep, go left. Triple Shout still reigns supreme. Then we are using Wrath of the Berserker. And I've switched out Bash back to Lunge for sticking and moving and triggering Berserk. And then, of course, just our main damage dealer, HOTA, Hammer of the Ancients. Now, for this build, the more max fury you have, the more damage you are going to do. That is because of the skill tree and your aspects. And we are just walking through this 100. All right, pick up the key. Oh, I shouldn't have grabbed that. Now we're just going to be even more ridiculous. Okay, how long is this? We're 1:50 into this dungeon. And Sea Hag, good night. Let me show you how to recreate this build. Moving over to the 4,000 word written guide on Icy Veins. Now, this video won't always be updated, but this written guide will be. It is the second link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. So we're going to go through it here. Now, starting off with your vampiric powers, if you are playing this for season 2, what you want is resilience, sanguine, prey on the weak, accursed touch, and metamorphosis. So those are your 5 vampiric powers. But again, that is only for season 2. When it comes to the actual skill tree, your first one for your basic skill, you want Lunging Strike. Now, previously we were using Bash, but it's too hard to close in on enemies, so I've switched it back to Lunge, and we are taking that extra berserking time. For our core skill, of course, we are using Hammer of the Ancients, and we have moved from Violent Hammer of the Ancients to Furious Hammer of the Ancients, which is going to give you a multiplicative damage based upon your fury. We don't want to hit we don't have to hit very often with our basic skills, so we are taking Endless Fury. This is a triple shout build, so we're using Rallying Cry, Challenging Shout, and War Cry. On top of that, we have 3 into Imposing Presence and 3 into Vigor. And then down here, we love our shouts. We're taking Booming Voice, Raid Leader, and 2 into Yell. And then right here, 3 into Aggressive Resistance and 3 into Prolific Fury. As we come down, 3 points into Pit Fighter, 1 into Thick Skin, 3 into Counteroffensive. And then as we continue down, 3 into Wallop, 3 into Brute Force, 1 into Wrath of the Berserker. When you have triple shouts plus Wrath of the Berserker and you get that Overpower hit, I have seen 500 million damage hits. And then obviously you want Prime Wrath of the Berserker, Supreme Wrath of the Berserker, and then your last point in Unbridled Rage. So those are the vampiric powers and the skill tree. As we continue down, For your weapon expertise, like most Barbarian builds, you do want to take two-handed axe expertise. So that is pretty straightforward. Something new that I've added to all of the written guides is weapon selection, because I get this all the time. For your Hammer of the Ancients, please set it to bludgeoning, and for lunging strike, set it to slashing. You need to have some form of weapon swap, and this takes care of that. As we move to the Paragon boards, this is normally on the quicker side. I will take a second on each one. So if you want, you can screenshot it, or again, you can reference the written guide second link in the description. Starting board, we are taking Territorial. And I've gone through these boards. I don't know how many times. This is the best iteration I've seen. Board 2, we are taking Carnage. Or I'm sorry, this is the Carnage board. We're taking Martial. Board 3, Blood Rage, and we are putting in Might. Board 4 is Warbringer, and we are putting in Crusher. Board 5 is Bonebreaker, and we are using Ire. Board 6, we are using Decimator, and we are using Undaunted. Now, as you can see, we are not using the Blood Glyph for this board because the Blood Glyph is going away in a month. So I didn't want to make the build around something that was going to be leaving fairly quickly. Okay, so those are the Paragon boards, all 6 of them. Now, as we continue down here, I'm going to go through targeted affixes, what you want. Now, for our helmet, we will be using the Tusk Helm, but if you do not have that, you want cooldown reduction, needed resistances, strength, max life, and damage while berserking. For your chest, you want to stack as much damage reduction, total armor, and life as you can. For gloves, critical strike chance and Hammer of the Ancients are the 2 big ones. And these other 3 are important, but not as important to those 2, attack speed, strength, and lucky hit chance. Pants, damage reduction, and max life. Boots, movement speed, damage reduction, fury cost reduction. It's an important stat. Strength, needed resistances. And remember, your helmet and your boots is where you want to get these resistances. Amulet, cooldown reduction, wallop, fury cost reduction, damage reduction, movement speed, damage reduction. Your rings, crit chance, and then this is the newcomer, is max fury. The more fury you have, the harder your Hammer of the Ancients will hit when it's topped off. Overpower, resource generation, max life, critical strike damage. And then for your weapons, the 2 core stats you want is strength in all stats. So once you have strength in all stats on the weapon, then you want to look at the other ones. Core skill damage, overpower, critical strike damage, damage to close. They're all good. You could roll the dice, honestly. Core is your main, and it's always going to hit, so it's always going to be there. So that's my first one. Okay. Moving down to legendary aspects. Legendary aspects. For your helm, like I said, you're using the Tusk Helm. And this gives you a boost when you become berserking while berserking, and this is triggered through your basic skill lunge. So you'll hit your war cry, you're going to be berserking, and then when you use lunge and re-trigger berserking, you're going to get the special on your Tusk Helm. For chest, disobedience to help you with armor. For your gloves, we want berserk ripping, which is going to give you bleeding damage. It's just going to help push up your DPS. For pants, we are using the new Will pants. They're so good, and you never have to worry about unstoppable with this one item. So good, and gives you a boost to your damage. For your boots, this is going to Relentless Berserk. This is going to allow you to maintain berserking longer. For this build, it is a requirement to have the Banished Lord's Talisman, because this is what's going to trigger your overpowers over and over again, since your Hammer of the Ancients is going to cost 70 Fury. Every 4 or 5 swings, you're going to trigger a guaranteed overpower. And there's one other way we're going to trigger overpower. You want Echoing Fury for Fury on your shouts for 1 ring. Bold Chieftains for cooldown on your shouts on the other ring. Two-handed bludgeoning, you want Edgemaster, 40% multiplicative damage for your primary resource. Limitless Rage, 60% multiplicative on your core based upon your fury. And then one dual wield, you want Hammer of the Ancients. And then your other dual wield is Earth Striker's Aspect. So earlier I was talking about how you have to swap weapons. This is why. After swapping weapons 8 times, your next skill will overpower. And it's hard to time it because you don't want to waste it on a lunge. But for the most part, every time you spend 300 fury and every time you swap weapons 8 times, you will trigger an overpower. And as you can see in the video, it's happening all the time. A new section that I've put in also is Uber Unique section. So if you do find the Shaco, the Harley Quinn crest, you want to replace your Tusk Helm with it. And if you find the Grandfather, you want to replace Edgemaster, okay? But I'm telling you, I have tested a lot of these other Ubers. They do not work with the build. Those are the 2 you want to hunt for. Looking at gems for your weapon, you want to put in a ruby. This is for overpower damage. For your armor, you want to put in a ruby. That's for life. And then for your jewelry, this one's a toss-up. Put in whatever gems you need to cap your resistances. And if your resistances are already capped, then what you want to do is put in skulls that are going to give you more armor. All right, everyone, what do you think of my new and improved HOTA Barbarian? Is there anything I missed? Is there anything I can do to take this to the next level? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. 2 asks at the end of the video. Ask number 1, I'm hoping today is the day I have earned your subscription. I'm hoping today is the day you make the decision to push that little red button. I would really appreciate it, but of course, only if you think I have earned it. Ask number 2, check out my Patreon. Thank you to the first 93 members that have signed up. I get asked all the time, what's the best way to support? And Patreon is it. You get the most bonus content. You get access to the VIP lounge. You get access to game night. You get access to live stream audio and video with me. You get exclusive content. It's the best. First link in the description. That's all I've got. Hopefully you're entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.